Alright, so it's been a few days since I made a video. I wanted to make one yesterday, but I was busy, never found the time to. But yeah, I mean, I didn't feel the need to rush to make a video because I already gave my plans and everything that happened with price action was accounted for. This scenario was certainly accounted for. And I'm not going to spend too much time repeating myself, going over what I've been looking at this entire time, but I will briefly give a recap. And if you want to skip it, go ahead. I'm going to try and keep it under a minute though. So following this high, we took out a significant range high. We had bearish signs that, can mean a range rotation. And in my mind, that gave me a bearish bias until I was proven otherwise. And I started to see signs of some bullishness at these lows with some divergences. We got a move to the upside. We kind of rejected from this zone at a key area. It is the point of control of a macro pull. And at that point, I was anticipating a range forming because we saw bullish things at the lows, because, I didn't see super bearish things at the high. I was kind of anticipating a range forming, and I was anticipating this to be a very decisive range. Either we're going to break past this newly formed range high and reverse the bearishness that occurred up here, and in my mind, that makes this high a target again, the high of the higher time frame range. Or we're going to break this range bearishly and we are going to continue with the bearish range rotation. All right, that's the gist of what I've been looking at. This was a very important decision range because it formed right after something more higher time frame bearish. And as we took out the range low once, this was simply an SFP on the higher time frames. We did see bullish divergences continue, and we got an aggressive move back up into the range. That was making me feel more bullish than I was previously. And unfortunately, I didn't take any longs that I was able to hold in this little range that we formed. I was hoping for a bit more of a pullback. And once we broke the range bullishly, it was basically straight up. And while I was right about the move, I did call that taking out this high would equal a move to this range high. It's not like I'm going to enter a long as soon as we start breaking that, targeting here with a stop loss all the way down here. That's not really the point of these if-then scenarios. I'm not always looking at these if-then scenarios as like trade setups. Like, obviously, I'm not taking this trade setup, but I like to do it to understand what is going on with price. A lot of people probably got super bullish here, and even though I was bullish, even though I knew breaking this decision range high was a bullish thing, I knew that, it could just result to a move up to the larger range high, and that is where we find ourselves now. So, we have reached another decision point, and we have more decision points above us. So, this is how I take it level by level. I did, however, look for some scalps on the lower time frames, and I looked at some altcoins for some long setups, because usually when Bitcoin is, doing bullish things, other coins will as well. So I looked for some scalps. I did take a few winning trades, but it was nothing too special, especially since I took a loss last night, which made me basically break even. I think I was slightly profitable for like this entire move, but that's okay. I don't need to be profitable for every move. No one is. The goal is just to be profitable in general. So, if I'm not feeling confident about any specific trade setup, I know there will be plenty in the future, so I'm not stressing over missing out. That's a rundown on what has happened. We are now at a decision point again. We're at the higher time frame range high, so it may be a good idea to start looking at the possibility of just SFPing this again, possibly coming back down bearishly. Not that I want to, try and jump to any conclusions here. At this point, I'm really, at the stage where I'm watching and seeing how things develop. I'm not being too antsy. If I take trades, they'll be local trades. But possibly I can, look at market cipher. I can look at things like maybe some key resistance areas that we may have front ran and start trying to understand what is happening here, even though I think it will take a while before we, know for sure. We have already taken out this high multiple times, but we could easily range here before breaking up further. So let's go ahead and run through market cipher. We'll run through every time frame. I'll try and keep it brief. So weekly time frame, I see that the yellow oscillator, or the VWAP, is starting to curve back to the upside, and it is hard to see, but I will just outline it with my cursor. So that's the VWAP. It is pointing back to the upside. It was retracing, and it looked like maybe momentum was slowing down a little bit, but it has ticked up along with the VWAP. So At this point, momentum facing upwards, VWAP facing upwards, both above the zero line, and money flow has gotten a further move to the upside. We actually, significantly took out this last lower high now. So if you're kind of looking at this as a trend, we have, in a sense, reversed the downtrend of this money flow, at least from this high. So that is possibly something significant there. Yeah, I mean, at the very least, money flow moving to the upside on the weekly time frame is a good thing. So the daily time frame is actually looking quite nice right now. The thing I like here is that we are also continuing with bullishness with the daily money flow. So, the overall picture I'm seeing here is money flow retraced overall, got to move into the red. In a sense, got a curvature. It's not a pretty one. It's not a pretty curvature by any means, but we spent a significant amount of time in the red. And the thing I was liking about this specific part of it is we had a very deep wave here, a very tight trigger wave. You can call that a anchor to trigger setup. And what we are now doing is we are taking out this last previous high. So we got to move above the zero line, retraced, very tight trigger wave. Now we are putting in higher highs. If you're looking at it as a trend, we are continuing the uptrend in the daily money flow, which is pretty significant as well, I would say. And momentum has bottomed out. We did get this retracement in momentum, and that bottomed out, looks like 3 days ago, and has gotten a pretty significant move to the upside. So currently, daily time frame looking pretty bullish as well. Now, as we start to get to the midterm time frames, is where we do see some divergences, at least with money flow. So on the 4 hour, clear, at least as it stands now, divergence with money flow, as money flow is a lot lower than where it was at the last time we were at these price levels. But locally, money flow is right now putting in a higher high. It is kind of looking weak, but, there is a chance that we see this sort of continue to trend upwards. And I would like to look at the lower time frames to get a more clear view of that, because on the 4 hour, it's, a little weird looking. So same thing on the 3 hour. We haven't really seen an aggressive move to the upside with money flow. In fact, it's been trending downwards the entire time. However, it has also simultaneously been trending upwards. So we have a triangle of money flow here. We have higher lows and lower highs, and it does seem to be coming to a point here. So we may see a breakout of this money flow triangle one way or another. And it appears the same on the 2 hour. We are seeing, again, a triangle. And let's try and roughly draw this out on the 2 hour, because there is a chance that we are trying to break it bullishly at the moment. Now, don't get me wrong, I certainly don't trade triangles, especially not money flow triangles. I'm not going to long, because I see the 2 hour money flow breaking a loose trend line that I drew over the money flow. But it is interesting to look at. We do have higher lows, we have lower highs, and we are kind of breaking a trend line right now. Let's take a look at the 1 hour. I mean, we're seeing a lot more disrespect on the trend line on the 1 hour, so I don't know if I would draw it here. In terms of divergences, it does seem like we have some bearish divs on the 1 hour. Yeah, momentum and money flow divs locally as we came up to put in this high. We have lower highs with the oscillator. And do we have regional divs? Yeah, looks like we may have regional money flow divs. I would say we do, even if this is basically the same as this, they're at the same point. This is roughly where we took out the high, so clear div from here to here. So I would say, the higher time frames look bullish. The midterm time frames look like maybe we end up ranging here, possibly even retracing before continuing higher and following through with that higher time frame bullishness. There is also always a chance that the higher time frame bullishness fails. So just because the daily and the weekly look bullish right now doesn't mean they will in, a week or two from now. So, that was a nice bit of context. It's nice to know how these time frames are looking, but it hasn't really changed my opinion much. I'm still in the watch and wait stage, and, I will be patient, and I'll look for trade setups when they present themselves. Last thing I want to do is I want to talk about this local bit of price action. So, we got, this very strange move earlier today where we got a Darth Maul kind of candle here. And I know it's multiple candles, but it's a Darth Maul move, straight up, straight down. Now we're kind of meeting in the middle of it. And usually when I see this, I start anticipating a range because this was a massive move. This was like 5% to the downside, 4.3%, and then like one other 3% back to the upside. It's very interesting where these moves position themselves because they front ran some pretty important points. So the move to the upside front ran the value area high of the macro pull, which I should probably double check that it's still the same. I'll do that in a minute, but there's also a weekly level sitting right there, an untapped one. So a nice bit of confluence right above this point, and right below this point is a higher time frame support resistance flip potential level. So yeah, we could flip this resistance, this wick, into support if we SFP this low. There may be trades on the extremes of this range if we SFP with some bear divs or SFP with some bull divs or some other bullish confirmations. We front ran some important levels, so I kind of like when we do that because it makes it very easy to plan out a few potential ideas. So yeah, I'm literally just going to mark out these points and put some positions on those areas. Boom and boom. And currently, I think these are the only ideas that I'm going to plan out. If I'm going to trade in the middle of this range, I wanted to develop a bit more. I want to see more sideways action before I start trading value areas or any other levels within a range. Possibly there's some ideas to be had within this lower time frame range, but we could break that by the time I'm done editing this video, so I'm not going to talk about that right now. And I almost forgot to go over the confluence with this zone, but there's a few things. Number one, this anchored VWAP creeping up towards that line that is pulled from this low down here. At least on the higher time frames it is. On the lower time frames it made it go all the way back here. But yeah, nonetheless, that's right there. There is a golden pocket roughly in that area from this low to that high, and if you pull this fib down to the actual low, it is the 382. So there you go, we got some confluence around that zone. I think the value area high of this larger range is also roughly in that area. Let me check. Yeah, for this pull, if you're pulling it from this high, which I would more so consider this the range high, considering if you're looking at this as a smaller range and we SFP'd the high, well, we kind of broke the low of that range right there. And you could look at the range just as all of this price action, which I could pull a fixed range of that as well. We'll see if it's similar. And the value area low is quite a bit lower, so I think I'm going to use that first pull that I did. So yeah, I mean, there's a bit of value area high confluence in that area as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a box around this zone. So I'm going to look at this entire zone as support right here. And I think that just about does it for the video. So thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a comment. All that helps to support the channel. I appreciate it. Check out my social medias in the description of my video. I'll have my Twitter and my Instagram, probably, if I can find a way to link it. And other than that, thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next one.